Shubhodaya, good morning, welcome everyone. Let us start with the prayer. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Sutra Bhashya Pranetaro Vedantabja Prabhakaro Vande Parasparatmano Badra Yada Shankaro. Today we have a very special guest, Swami Tattvarupananda Saraswati ji. Swami Tattvarupananda Saraswati was born and raised in Kerala's cultural capital of Thrissur, India. As a spiritual speaker from an young age, he was very fortunate to have met many different masters of repute. At the age of 18, he joined the Narayana Ashrama Tapovan in Thrissur and studied under the guidance of Swami Bhumananda Tirtha, which later facilitated his Vedantic studies. Later, under the tutelage of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, he studied the Pasthanatraya, that is Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras with Adi Shankaracharya's commentary. From 2004 onwards, Swamiji has been teaching Samskrita, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and also other Vedantic texts related to yoga. Swamiji is currently engaged in teaching spiritual scriptures at very different locations across the world. We welcome you, Swamiji. Today, Swamiji will be speaking about Karya Kaarya Vaada, the methodology of cause and effect. Viewers, if you have any questions, please post it in Q&A box and not in the chat box. Swamiji, please start your session.
We'll start with the prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritav Vande Bhagavandah Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste to everybody. Before getting into the topic, it is very important to know the relevance of the spiritual sadhana, especially when we think about the scriptural study, Vedanta mainly. Sometimes people think that Vedantic study, we can just study and understand all the theories of the Vedanta, and finally I can realize the truth. But it is very important to have a disciplined life to really imbibe that spiritual knowledge. If I want to enter into any field, before entering, I have to look within whether am I qualified to enter into this field. If I don't have the enough qualification, it's very important to really inculcate those qualifications in me. What all the things necessary for that, a person should be ready to do that. With the qualification, if I study daily in the Vedanta, we say sadhana chadushtaya sambannadhikarina. Sadhana chadushtaya, viveka, vairagya, shat sambati, and mumukshutva. These are the fourfold qualification of a spiritual aspirant. Without this qualification, without this fourfold qualification, if I enter into the Vedantic study, I may be able to intellectually appreciate, but still I will continue to be a same person who is always looking for something from outside. Therefore, in a Vedanta, once you have, that's why religious life is very important. Religious life means nothing but you are disciplining yourself, getting up early morning, doing some japa, some sort of sadhana which you got it from your master, your teacher. Regular systematic sadhana is very important in spiritual life. With that regular and systematic spiritual practice, if I really look into the Vedantic text, mainly the Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and related Prakarana Granthas, and Brahma Sutra, they will have some connection into my life. Therefore, it's very important to have this regular, systematic spiritual practice for anybody who is looking into studying the Vedanta. Even yoga is very much required because we need to really maintain this physical body. This physical body is an instrument which we got it. It is our responsibility to take care of this physical body. To take care of the physical body, the yoga is one of the very important tools. With the help of the yoga, I can really keep this instrument in good condition. Why? Because if my body is not really healthy, I will not be able to really listen, sit and listen. If I need to forget my body, if I want to forget my body should be healthy. Therefore, it is important to maintain our mental health and physical health. Once I have this mental and physical health, the Vedanta really works. When we get into the Vedantic study, Vedanta literal meaning Vedanto Nama Upanishad Pramana. Upanishad is called Vedanta, the end portion of the Veda, or where the real purpose of the Veda is dealt with it. That portion is called the Vedanta. Vedanta or Upanishad. Upanishad is a very special word. Adi Shankaracharya explained what is the meaning of the Upanishad very nicely. Upa means that which is near. Ni means without any doubt. Shat means knowledge. That which is very near to you, get a clear understanding. What is near to me? Near to me is me. Therefore, to get a clear understanding about ourselves. Therefore, the Vedanta is generally translated in English self-knowledge. Knowledge about the self. Who am I? This is the subject matter of the Vedanta or Upanishad. Because It's very important to understand the beginning itself. If anybody interested towards the self-knowledge, they can continue to listen. If I don't want to have self-knowledge, I want something else, some kind of power, some kind of supernatural accomplishment. The power, if I want, this is not from the Vedanta. A Vedantin may have such power, but he or she is not working for that power at all. But when we get into Vedantic study, Vedanta, there are mainly 5 prakriya methodology Vedanta deals with it. When I want to, because we all think I know myself. I have a very clear understanding about me. I am, who am I? I am this body, mind, sense complex. This is what I am. But from there, the first analysis, start from our physical body. When we start with the physical body, from the Vedantic standpoint, we divide this physical body into 3. The Karana Sharira means causal body, subtle body, and the physical body. Analyze these 3 bodies, and I come to know that I am neither all this body, I am other than these 3 body, which is consciousness. This is the one method they used. Then there is avastatraya. We all are experiencing this every day, waking. Now we're supposed to be in the waking state. You are listening to me, and I'm talking to you. Therefore, there is some transaction is taking place. This transaction, all the transactions take place in our waking states. Then we have a dream. The dream, we create our own world, and we produce a total, complete dream world out of our own memory, and we experience. And the moment you wake up, you understand that this dream world is not really real. Then we go to the deep sleep. In the deep sleep, we don't have anything. We don't have any special experience. We are really having a very good sleep. I didn't know anything. I had a sound sleep. This is what our experience in the deep sleep. Aham kinchinna avedisham sukhena nidram anubhuyate. I didn't know anything. I am happily enjoying my sleep. But these are the 3. But all the 3 states is known to me. Therefore, these 3 states are an object. I am the subject. Therefore, I am different from the 3 states. This is another prakriya used in the prakriya, means methodology used in the Vedanta. Then same thing, the Pancha Kosha, the 5 sheets also, and Drik Drishya Viveka, the seer seeing, the analysis. Then there is a profound, today our topic is today and tomorrow, I try to deal with the Kaarana Kaarya Vaada, the methodology of cause and effect. This also is from the Upanishad. All this methodology which is used in the Vedantic tradition, they all have the base in the Upanishad. When we look into the Kaarana Kaarya Vaada, the cause and effect, because when I see at this moment, this world is always an amazing, because there are a lot of things are going, not just this earth. When you imagine the whole universe, what all things are taking place in this universe, without much problem. Everything is taking place, everything is in a very systematically going on. This systematically going, the universe, how it is happening? Is there a controller? Where from this universe came? What was the cause for this universe? When I see in the universe itself, there is something is coming, something is going, something is born, something is dying. Behind this coming and going, there is some principle which is controlling all the phenomena which is taking place in this universe. There should be a karanam, there should be a cause for this. Without cause, there is no effect. Even in our own life, when you look, sometimes we say, oh, I don't know. There is an accident. Swami Tattvarupananda Saraswati, my teacher, used to tell, an accident is an incident which cause is not known to us. Definitely there is a cause. The very important rule in the universe, every effect should have a cause. Without a cause, there is no effect at all. But Karana, any Karya should have a cause. Karana. There is an Upanishad called Muntaka Upanishad. Beautiful Upanishad. In this Upanishad, the beginning, the very first chapter, section, deals with this inquiry. There is a Shaunaka is the Shishya, Angiras is the teacher. Shaunaka was a very well accomplished, a very religious person, very dharmic. The Upanishad says, Shaunako Havai Mahashalaha Angirasam Vidivadhuvasanna Papracha. The Shaunaka Mahashala. There is Acharya Shankara explained the Mahashala means one who has the Mahapakashala, one who distributes the lot of food. Also Yajnashala, also Patashala. He has a Patashala, Yajnashala and Pakashala. He was very dharmic person. With this dharmic life, he led his life so long, and he thought, I'm really doing what is to be done, but I don't feel I really accomplished what I need to accomplish. There is something I am lacking, but I don't know what I lack. Therefore, he approaching his teacher, the Ankiras, and he asking a very profound question. This is a question we have to ask when we approach a teacher. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamitam vijñātam bhavati iti. The question is, by knowing which I come to know everything. This is a very intelligent question. Generally, when I know something, I know only that particular thing. When you study Vedanta, you know Vedanta. When you study biology, you know biology. You know, when you study the chemistry, you know chemistry. Mathematics, you know mathematics. By studying mathematics, you will not come to know other subject matter. This is what our experience. This is what our knowledge. This is what we are doing. If I want to study something, I study that, and I try to put myself into that, and I get that knowledge. But here, the Angiras is asked, Shaunaka is asking, Kasminnu Bhagavo Vijnāne, by knowing which I want to learn what I want to learn, the Brahma Vidya, by knowing which I come to know everything. So this is what actually Shaunaka is asking. When we say Brahma Vidya, in this particular the Upanishad, the Brahma Vidya is called Akshara. Akshara Vidya. Akshara Vidya means that which never perish. That is no kshara, no disintegration. It is always there. That is the Akshara Vidya. This is the name used in the Mundaka Upanishad. Now, the Shaunaka asked this question. Therefore, is it possible to have a knowledge by knowing which I come to know everything? It may be possible. For example, some other Upanishad, they take a beautiful example. When you make the pot out of clay, really speaking, the clay which you use to make the pot, after making the pot, we think there is a pot different from clay. Before there was a clay, the Upanishad also is used this. No? The morning he was going, then he saw a lump of clay. The evening when he come back, he saw there are many, many pots. From that, the person understood, oh, the lump of clay now turned into different pots. We think there is something new created here as a pot. When I really examine the nature of the pot, I can understand one thing. The pot, when you say the clay and pot, in this particular example, we can say clay as a karanam, the cause. The pot is the effect, karya. Effect is called karya, and cause is called karana. When we examine this Karana and Karya, we can understand one important thing. The Karya, the pot, the effect, the pot, can exist depending upon the cause. Without the cause, effect cannot exist. For example, imagine there is a pot. In this pot, there is a pot, small deer. This is made up of the clay. It's a lamp made up of the clay, original clay. From now I say it is a lamp. It's a lamp. This lamp is an effect. This lamp is made up of the clay. Clay is the cause. Now, the clay is not depending upon the lamp. Even if I smash the lamp, clay continue to exist. Clay will be pieces. How many pieces? With that piece, I can make another lamp or whatever I want. According to my desire, I can turn into this clay in different form. Therefore, the effect is depending upon the cause, but cause is not depending upon the effect. When we think about this cause-effect relationship, first we can understand one thing. The cause is independent. The effect is dependent. Also, from the clay, I can make many pots. Whatever desire. If you go to a pottery shop, in the pottery shop, you can see many things. When you look the pot, the object, different forms, you may see, oh, there are many pots are there. But when you look from another angle, all this pot earthenware is nothing but clay. From the standpoint of clay, there is only one. From the standpoint of the pots, there are many. From this, we can understand one thing. The cause is one, ekam. It's only one. Cause is one. Effects are many. Many parts, many, you can make many. The cause is one, effects are many. Now, when you turn, the essence of the pot. Understand? For example, you take what is in and through this lamp. In and through this lamp is nothing but a clay. Clay. Because if I remove the clay from this lamp, nothing will be left out. The weight of this lamp is the weight of the clay. Therefore, I can say the essence of this lamp is the clay. Essence is called in Sanskrit as a sara. The essence of this clay is the essence of this lamp is the clay. Without clay, this pot cannot exist. Then what is the pot if I examine the lamp? If I examine, lamp is just a name and form. There is nothing other than. The name and form cannot exist itself. It has to depend upon something which support the name and form. Therefore, we can say that the first thing is the The cause is one, effects are many. Cause is the essence. The effects are, there is no effect really speaking, as though it is exist. It is not really existing. Also, when I examine the same lamp, before this lamp was not there, now it is there, later it will not be there. Because there is a very important law. We all are experiencing this law. What is that? Anything which is born, it will die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Anything is born, definitely it is going to die. Also, anything is died, it will born again. But birth and death, the birth and death is there. When I look from the pot, this pot was not there before, now it is existing, after some time it will not be there. But when I look from the clay standpoint, clay was there, now also clay is there. Even the pot destroyed, clay continued to exist. Therefore, we can say clay was there, clay is, clay will be. In Vedanta, we say that which exists all three periods of time is called Nitya. It is Nitya. Nitya or Satya. It is there always. But when I look from the pot standpoint, what happened? Pot was not there, now it is there. After some time, it will destroy. That means pot is not all three periods of time. It is temporarily existing. Now it is there. Since now it is there, we say, oh, now this pot is there. Later it will not be there. Before it was not there, of course. Now it is there. Later it will not be there. Therefore, if I look from the standpoint of name and form, they are not Nitya. That which is not existing all three periods of time is called Anitya. It is not Nitya, it is not eternal. Eternal means that which is beyond the time. It is not within the time. Something which exists within the time, it definitely undergoes different modification. But that which is not within the time, it will not undergo any kind of change. Therefore, the Karanam is Nityam, Karyam is Anityam. Now, these are the things we need to really understand when we go for this Kaarana Kaarya Vaada. The Karya will be one, Karana will be many. The Karanam is the one, Karyam is many. The cause is one, effect are many. The cause is the essence, it's there. It's the essence means it is the substance, and effects are there is no, it has got existence depending upon the cause. It is asara, not sara. Then cause is eternal, nityam, and effects are not nityam, anityam. Once a person really able to appreciate this, why should I have this knowledge? We can have a doubt. What is the benefit if I gain this knowledge? Not just intellectually understand, how can I use this knowledge in my day-to-day life? That's very important. If I am not able to use in my daily life, why should I have this knowledge? You know, it's very important to understand this. Once I appreciate the cause is the real reality. Also, if I really look into what is the cause for this universe? There should be a cause. This cause is, in the religion they talk about this cause as a Ishvara. In Vedanta we talk as a Atma or Brahman. Different way. Different name they have given, but all the names point out the same thing. Ekam sadvipra bahudha vadanti. The thing is same. When I say clay or some other language, if I use some other things, some other word, clay in different language, when you say in Malayalam, we say it's a kalimannu. Kalimannu is clay. Mannu means clay. Clay and mannu is a different word, but same substance. The same manner, sometime the Upanishad use this, the primordial cause, the cause, as a Atma, Brahman, and some other words, Sat, Sadvidya, in the Chandogya Upanishad, very nicely described in the 6th chapter, the Shvetaketu and Uddalaka, a beautiful analysis. Same thing. There also our inquiry is the cause and effect. I will take this later. Therefore, there is Sadvidya. The same Upanishad in the later they call Bhuma Vidya. The same. The Bhuma. Bhumanam. Different name they used, but thing is one. The essence, what the names are many, but thing, what they point out is the same thing. But this, the entire universe, imagine the whole universe, before the creation. Before the creation means there is no time, there is no space. Therefore, we cannot ask the question, before the creation, where was Brahman? Where? The moment you use the where, the word where, it denotes the space. The space is not relevant at the time. Therefore, that question where, when, these questions are irrelevant before the creation. Anyway, that primordial cause is called the Brahman. If you don't like the word Brahman, whatever you say, there is a first cause. When you say it's the first cause, Ishvara or Brahma, you say that first cause you name as a Ishvara or Brahman or Atman, or even Bhuma, whatever name you give. All this, the primordial cause should not have a cause. Beautifully, Shankaracharya tell in the Viveka Chudamani, Ekamed tadaneka sadhanam, ekameva sataneka karanam, karanantara nirasya karanam, karya karana vivarjitam sat, brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. That first cause doesn't have any cause. What is that cause? The causeless cause. It should be something. You have to imagine that. That is the in our tradition, we give the tradition as the first cause. If I can use the word as a first, that's the cause. From that Brahman, beautifully, there is a Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad. Tasmat va etasmat atmana akasha sambhutaha. Akashad vayuhu vayoragnihi agneraapaha adhya prithvi prithivyaam oshadayaha oshadibhyo annam annat purushaha. This is the system they. This is the level they talked about how this universe came about. First, there is an Atma, Atma or Brahman, or Ishvara. If you are a religious person, is an Ishvara. The Ishvara is the cause, the first cause. From that Ishvara first came the space. When you say first came, the time also is there. Understand? First means time also involved. Now, this, when you say the first, the space came, the meaning is the space cannot exist independently. You look at the law. We said, first law, the karyam can exist depending upon the karana. The effect can exist depending upon the cause. From the effect, if you remove the cause, nothing will be left out. Look, from this lamp, if I remove the clay, nothing will be there. Therefore, when we say the first is the Brahman, the space came, from the space, air, fire, water, and earth, the plants, and the beings. This is the system they talked about. Therefore, we can say, when you say this universe, generally in theology, they say God created this universe. When you say God created this universe, just like a pot maker created a pot. When we say the pot maker created a pot, the pot and pot maker are separate. To create a pot, we need two causes, two types of cause. In technically, it's called, one is intelligent cause, another is called material cause. When these two things are there, intelligent cause and material cause, you can produce a effect, a product called the lamp. Now, this is what our experience in the world. When you produce something, you will not be identified with what you produced. You are separate from what you are making. Otherwise, when you go to buy a pot in the shop, when you bring the pot maker also will come with you. That when a lot of people will be there in your house. Thank God it is not happening. That's good. Therefore, generally in the world, anything we are producing, we need two types of cause. The intelligent cause and material cause. Technically, in Sanskrit, it is called Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana. Nimitta Karana means intelligent cause. Upadana Karana means material cause. From the standpoint of this pot, the clay is the Upadana Karana, material to make this lamp. The one who is making this lamp, he knows how to make, what kind of clay he has to use it, how to use it. All this knowledge he has. Therefore, he is called the intelligent cause. Now, when we think about the universe, the whole universe, the first cause is called the Brahman. There is no second thing there. There is the Ekam. It's only one. Only that reality. There is nothing else. There, when we say that itself, the Brahman is both the material and intelligent cause. It is not separate. Material cause also is Brahman, intelligent cause also is Brahman. These are not two separate things. When we say we can doubt, how can it be? It is not possible. Both material and intelligent cause one and the same, because we never experienced this. The Upanishad comes for our help. Say, Muntaka Upanishad says, Yatorna nabhishricate grihnate cha. Just like a spider. How a spider making a web? Spider is not searching the material. Where from I get the material to make this web? Spider is not searching. Spider make the web, also spider can withdraw the web into it. In this particular example, the spider which is talking in the Upanishad, what kind of spider is? Sometimes you can see from the ceiling, a small spider is coming down. It's coming down. When you touch, it goes up. This spider is the example in the Upanishad. So there, both it can make, the material is out of spider. Also, spider has the skill how spider can make this web. Here we can see the spider is both material cause and the intelligent cause. Here, if a small spider can become both material and intelligent cause simultaneously, you got to talk about this, our Ishvara, who is the all-powerful. All the namas and rupas, all names and forms, it comes out of that Brahman. When we say the Brahman is the cause for this entire universe, Brahman is the cause, universe is the effect, Brahman is the Karanam, the Jagat is the Karyam. We said the Karyam, the effect, cannot exist without depending upon the cause. That means, we also said, once I remove the effect, the cause from the effect, nothing will be left out. Nothing will be left out. Therefore, in our Vedanta, instead of using the word that Brahman created the world, we use the word as Brahman manifest in the form of universe. Brahman itself is the universe. Because Brahman was the cause, from the cause, he is the both material and the intelligent cause. It's all very big discussion in the Brahma Sutra, Ikshadadhikarana. So kamayata bhusyam prachayeyeta satapotapyata satapataptva itagam sarvam asujata. Beautiful analysis is there. That Brahman, so akamayata, he desired. Bhusyam prajayeta, may I become many. That means the Brahman manifest, not created. Brahman is not like a, sometimes some theology says God created the world and he went to heaven and he's enjoying his time because he doesn't want to deal with all the problem in the universe. Therefore, he went to a nice tourist place called heaven and he is enjoying. This is not the hour. From the Sanatana Dharma, we cannot separate the God. That's why, it's a very famous story. Everybody must have heard about this story. When Swami Vivekananda, he was very searching for the truth. He wanted to know where is God. He was searching a person who has seen the God, who has really experienced the God. Then from his professor, he understood there is a person called Ramakrishna Paramahamsa living in Dakshineshwara. You go and ask this person. Vivekananda went to Ramakrishna Dev and asked the question, have you seen God? For Ramakrishna Dev, there was no doubt, there was no iota of doubt when he heard this question. When we hear, we might, if I tell something, what will happen? We have a doubt inside. But for Ramakrishna Dev, there was no doubt at all. He asked them, yes, my dear child, I have seen very clearly. I can see the God clearer than I see you. This is the very, sometimes people think, why this answer is given? What was the real reason? Because he knows that effect is nothing but cause. Since the effect is the Brahman, the cause also is nothing but Brahman. The cause, since the effect is the clay, cause also clay. Cause is the clay, effect also clay. But when you say effect, what is the difference between the cause and effect? Before the cause, there was no name and form. When the causal form, there is no name and form. When you make an order, when you bring a form, there is a cause plus name and form is called the effect. Therefore, if somebody asks the question, what is the universe? The Brahman is the cause. Universe is the effect. What is the cause? If somebody asks, the cause is nothing but, effect is nothing but, not cause, sorry. Effect is nothing but cause plus name and form. Cause plus name and form is called the effect. Once I really appreciate this is the universe, at presently my problem in the life, what I face, my problem, the problems which I am facing in my life, I am more attached towards the name and form. The people and situation in my life. My near and dear people. My near and dear people should be always with me. I cannot imagine a world when they are not there. As long as they are there, I am happy. I think I may feel I don't need anything. I'm already happy. I'm already enjoying my life. What else I need? Why? Because when you say that, I'm really enjoying my life, I don't need anything in my life, you have to look into why I am enjoying. What is the reason? My happiness is depending upon certain things around me or certain situation, because those situations and things are not going to be here forever, whether you like it or not. They will go, they will change. The nature of an object is constantly changing. Asti jayate vardate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati shadbhava vikara. It is born, it's undergoing certain change, it decaying, and finally it disintegrates. It goes away. We may not be able to notice very immediately. When you meet your friend after 10 or 20 years, you may recognize him or her. Sometimes you may not be recognized because they have completely undergone a change. Their shape, their hair. Earlier, my whole beard was very black. Now, look, all the beard, most of them are white now, is undergoing. This change is inevitable. If I am not able to accept this change, then problems start. Now you understood why we have to study this cause and effect theory, methodology. Once you really appreciate it, if you can really accept the world as it is. As it is means what? World's nature is continuously changing. I cannot help. But this change in nature is the world. If I am not able to accept it, it creates a problem in me. Even my own body. You born as a very small child, you grown, you study. Now you have married, you have children. Children has the children. Therefore, it is, if I am not able to really accept those circumstances without any kind of problem, then that is the problem in the life. If I accept it, no problem. If I am not able to accept it, then the problem starts. Even whether you accept it or not, you cannot change the world. The nature of the world is like that. Prakriter anyate bhavaha. So you cannot change anything. The Mandukya Karika, Gaudapatacharya very clearly said, the things, nature, you cannot change it. World is world. What is the world? It is undergoing. Jayate gacchati. Jayati gacchati. It is born, it's gone. How long we are going to be here with this body? We are also temporarily existing here. Don't think you have to be here forever. Maximum 100 years, that also is, we don't know whether we are going to be here for 100 years. That means, once I appreciate, if my mind is completely engrossed in this name and form, means world. Name and form means world. If I depend upon the world for my happiness, your happiness is always fluctuating. Today you up, tomorrow you will be down. It's up and down, inevitable. Nobody can solve this problem. The world, this is the 99% of the people who are living in the world. They are depending upon the world. All names and forms are very important for them. They are not able to accept the change. That's why when your hairs are getting gray, you paint it to hide. But even if you hide, whatever, how long you can hide it? You cannot hide it very long. This world dependent, once you look at the world, the name and form, you are more depending upon the names and form, our life will become more problematic. Once I shift from that, from the world dependence to God dependent, and everything I started to see, everything is manifestation of the God. Means instead of seeing the lamp, I try to see the clay. Instead of seeing all the names and form, I try to see the cause, which is called Ishvara. Once I appreciate the presence of the Ishvara, means cause, this whatever I see is that nothing but the one cause. The cause may be undergoing a change, but cause never, you cannot destroy the cause. Cause, it may it may undergo some other form and going again come back. This may be the material may be doing. But this, the once your attention is from the name and form, when you change into the God, then you become a religious person. Understand? Religion, you see everything as God. Isha vastyamitakam sarva. Everything I see is God only. If you have a particular liking, for example, for us, no problem at all. We have many forms of God. Many, whichever form you like, you can take out that one form and you can worship that form. And even though in the beginning, if you like Krishna, you see Krishna in the only in the murti, only in that idol. Slowly, your Krishna should be everywhere. Everything what you are seeing is the Krishna. If you like the other Shiva or Devi, you see everything in it. Then finally, this is from the religion, you have to come to the next level. Instead of seeing the cause as Ishvara and the name and form, from the name and form Ishvara, then slowly shift into the self, I. The I means don't take as this body, mind, sense complex. I means the real original self. This is what the Upanishad wants to drive. The self-knowledge, whatever knowledge I have at this point of time about myself, that knowledge, that understanding is creating a problem in my life. If I want to solve the problem, I need to have the right understanding about myself. This is exactly what the Upanishad wants to explain. That's why Upanishad always is a dialogue. Dialogue between a teacher and the student. The teacher has got a clear vision. The student wants to get that vision. That's why in the Upanishad, Shishya approached the teacher. The disciple approached the teacher. Then while approaching, here also we can see Shaunako Havai Mahashala. Angirasam vidhivadupasanna. Vidhivat. There is a vidhi how to approach your teacher with a humility. In Bhagavad Gita, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upatekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. Clearly in the 4th chapter, towards the end, say tadvidhi, may you know that truth, may you know that cause. Because that cause only everywhere. Without that cause, nothing can exist. That cause, may you know that tadvidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya. 3 words, very important word. Pranipata, it indicates your humility, prostration. I surrender to my teacher. Oh teacher, I don't know this. Since you know, I think you know, therefore I came to you. Please teach me tadvidhi. while doing this, when you are listening, because every listener will have their own frame of mind. They have their own conclusion, their own idea, their own prejudice, the preconceived notion. No? This preconceived notion is the problem to really get the right knowledge. If you are not exposed to any teaching, first time you are coming to the real teacher, the teacher's job is very easy. Very easily teacher can explain it. If you have already a conclusion, this and that, with that conclusion you come approach a teacher, you also expect this is what my teacher should teach me. With that expectation, when you approach, when your expectation is not fulfilling, you go to another teacher. You go to another teacher. There is no surrender there. There is no completely, you are not, I don't know, please teach me. That humility is not there. While listening, you will have doubt, you can ask the question. Pariprashna, until I understand the truth. There is no teacher will tell you, don't ask you questions anymore. No question, you just accept it. No. They say, ask the question until you understand. Even the 9th chapter, the 6th chapter of Chandogya Upanishad, Shetaketu asked Uddhalaga 9 times. After 9 times, Shetaketu didn't come back. Therefore, we understood he must have got it, that knowledge. But pariprashnena, sevaya, ready to do some service to your teacher. Once you really do, once you have this frame of mind, ready to listen, ready to do some seva to your teacher, this is all called the preparation. No, I value this knowledge. Once you have the value for this knowledge, you will be ready to do anything. But this knowledge really brings a big change into my life. This effort, I have to do it. For me, somebody cannot. Somebody can do for me. No. Just like it, beautifully Shankaracharya says in the Viveka Chudamani, if I have the hunger, I have to eat. If somebody else eats, my hunger will not appease. Therefore, everybody has to really make their mind to really inquire into this truth. When I really do this inquiry, what all the necessary preparation and what all the necessary things I need to keep in my mind, these things I will deal with the next section, which will have the next section we deal with this necessary things. If I'll deal with some question now. Okay.
Swamiji, it was an amazing session. Viewers, if you have any questions, it is the time to ask. Swamiji will take it up. So we have one question. Swamiji, do we see life changing, a series of transformations, including time and space as locality, because we are captured by the cause and effect duality? Then can we say that liberation is getting rid of cause and effect series? Is it that we become unborn when we can't see anymore the sequence of cause and effect when changes may happen around but not within?
You know, this is exactly why we are doing this Karya Kaarya Vaada, cause and effect, this methodology, to make us understand I have neither cause, neither effect. I am beyond the cause and effect. The self or the Atman is, really speaking, there is nothing else. The only, when you say, for example, generally, when you go to ocean and see the wave and water, we may say the wave, the water is the cause for the wave. Really speaking, water is water. Whether wave is there or not, water is not depending upon the wave at all. Even the ocean, water is not depending upon the ocean also. But the self, the I, is beyond the cause and effect. This is exactly what we want. This is what we are going to see tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that in theology we say God created the universe.
Yeah.
And in Mundaka it says Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta. So how do we understand that?
Yeah, Vishwasya Karta, it's only, Vishwasya, it's from the standpoint of the person as an individual who is living here. Vishwasya Karta, we say Karta. The same Mundaka will tell, I'm neither Karta nor this. It is a contradiction. If I want to really understand these things, when you say Vishwasya Karta, we are looking from the standpoint of the Brahma. I am a Brahma in the form of. Vishwasya Bhokta, I am from the standpoint of I am the Vishnu. Understand? I am one who is 30. When you say I am the destroyer, I am the Shiva. But this Trinity, the Trinity gets the capacity from me, but I am neither all these things. Just like a pot is clay, but clay is not pot. The Brahma is the Brahmaji. Brahma means Brahmaji. Brahmaji is the Atma, but Atma is not Brahmaji. That's way once you understand, no problem at all. Yeah.
Swamiji, I have a question.
Yeah.
We get a lot of feedback from people with this question. I mean, those who are not actually properly studied Vedanta, they get bogged down by these phrases like Satkarya Vaada, Asatkarya Vaada, Vivarta Vaada, Parinama Vaada, so many terms.
Okay.
So can you, because this is a related thing, I thought you could clarify on the definition of them. Yeah.
The first important thing, whatever you study, sometimes, that's why Shastra Vasana, Loka Vasana, also we need Shastra Vasana. Shastra is a very good tool. But once you understand the Shastra, that's so Shastra serves the purpose. Then Shastra is in you. You are the Shastra. There is no more you need to depend upon. Therefore, the main important, I should be completely contented. That contentment is the important outcome for the study. Whether you understood the Satkara Vada or Asatkarya Vada or Parinama Vada, Vivarta Vada, sometimes people stuck with all these Vadas. Understand? These Vadas are the tool to know the ultimate reality. But anything we are studying, I should say myself, yes, I know it. I understood. That understanding is the very important. This understanding, all this Vada will help to understand the person. To what understanding? I am the cause. Understand? The cause is not different from me. The cause is I. That's only Tattvamasi. Then only that, when you say it, when Uddhalaga explained to Shetaketu, that Satyam Tata, that cause is you. It is not different from you. When you say, here also look, when I say to this lamp, oh, you are the clay, then the lamp is asking me, Swamiji, can you tell me when I can realize that I am the clay? What will be my answer? I will tell you, do yoga and pranayama and lot of meditation, then finally you will realize that you will be the clay. You are the clay. That's why in the process also I am the truth. That's why we say here is praptasya prapti, natu apraptasya prapti. Here is the what I am the reality. I am inquiring the reality. Finally, I come to know that I was that. I am that. So all this inquiry should really help me to get that peace of mind. Yeah.
And also you mentioned that if we remove Karana from Karya, nothing will be left out.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that nothing will be left out?
You know, there is, in fact, there is no Karya at all. Karya is only in your head. Understand? When I say, take this, when I say lamp, this lamp is only in your head. The weight of the lamp is nothing but the weight of the clay. You can, even if you remove the clay from the lamp, you know there is nothing. You need not literally remove. Instead of know that if I remove the clay from the lamp, I need not destroy the clay. I can do it mentally. I can understand that there is no karyam at all. There is karyam at all. There's only karanam. Karanam in a different name, different form, and different name. Even when we say that, when I say this, we have to shift that understanding into me. Into me means my body, mind, sense complex is the name and form. The essence is in me is that primordial cause, which is Brahman or Atman, whatever name you are using. Yeah.
And also we drown ourselves in Namarupa, as you mentioned, in both waking and dream state especially.
Yeah.
And we only see Karya always, and we always say that we have, there are so many things going on around us. So how do we not attach ourselves with these names in a daily basis? Not from Paramartha Drishti, just from Vyavaharika Drishti, how do we realize that these are just Namarupas?
You know, we have to train our mind. Only way. That's why we have Sahasranama, no? You do Sahasranama, why? Sahasra means 1,000 name. 1,000 means don't restrict with 1,000. 1,000 means Ananda. Ananda, all the names and forms are nothing but Ishvara. That's the one reason we have the Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama we have. Then we have the Lalita Sahasranama, the both very famous. And so if I am a Vishnu Bhakta, I see everything as a Vishnu. You know, when you chant the Rudram and Chamaga, the Rudra, there is a Taskara Nam Pataye Namaha. No? You are the leader of the Taskara. But all these things, why we are telling everything is a manifestation. Chinmatra Vistharidam when Shankaracharya write the commentary upon the Mandukya Upanishad, in the beginning he write a beautiful 3 words in that they say, whatever I can see, that's all the Chit. There is nothing other than the Chit. Once I have that vision that everything is Chit, then my inquiry is over. There is nothing, there is no second thing. When there is a second thing, there is a problem. No? Dvaidhanti bhavati. Upanishad say.
We are almost out of time. We will have a final question. Pranam Swamiji, thank you for a wonderful first session. I live in London, hence had to wake up at 5 a.m. My understanding is that in deep sleep, our gross and subtle bodies are not active. How did my alarm clock arouse me from deep sleep? Thank you.
This is you already put in the, this is simple, no? This is auto suggestion. You can see if you want to, for example, tomorrow I want to catch a flight at 2:30. then whether I put my alarm or not, because I already put in my subconscious that tomorrow this should be there. You are given a suggestion to your subconscious. The subconscious will really take you. That's a subconscious thing. There is nothing special. This is a very simple. It's not a siddhi. Understand? some some people think, oh, I got a siddhi. I want to get up 5 o'clock, but I got up 4:30 without any problem. I think I'm progressing my spiritual sadhana. I don't think all these things. It's a simple mental process. Everybody has got that capacity.
That will end our today's session. Swamiji will continue tomorrow at 11 a.m. again. Viewers, if you have not registered for tomorrow's sessions, please do register on our website. Thank you, Swamiji, for this wonderful session. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Okay, namaste.